All right, party people in the place to be, Vandals. This is a brand new episode of How'd We Get Here? This is a fun early afternoon episode, and we have a very special guest. And I'm gonna go ahead and let her introduce herself. How are you doing today? And what does the word cobalt mean to you?
Well, I'm Pidge, and I make a comic called Infinite Wheat Paste, and a collection of it just came out in May, the first 9 issues in full color. And cobalt means a number of things. I make ceramics, so definitely I think about the electrons bouncing around to make that beautiful blue in the kiln, and how nice it looks under a reduction. But I also think of the koboldi, which is what I think you're getting at. The koboldi who are featured in issue 6, which that's another, it's a closer approximation to the German word for goblin. And if you strike the cobalt in the mine, they say that you're interacting with the koboldi, but it's because there's another gaseous substance which I can't recall, that's in proximity to the cobalt that can kill you, or in a lot of cases cause hallucinations and violent illness, which is why goblins have such a nasty reputation.
So there's actually lore behind the creatures in that issue. That is awesome. I actually love that issue. It's probably the cool thing about this book, Infinite Wheat Paste, is you kind of really even just in this one first collection have tackled like most of the genres. You know what I mean? There's a lot of it is slice of life, but you got horror, you got some straight up space odyssey or opera going on, but yeah, the koboldi are kind of like in a horror issue. And yeah, I did not know that there was actually lore behind that. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I did not know that the koboldi was a actual phenomenon that happens when you interact with the substance cobalt. That is insane. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's where that started, really, or at least most versions of that started. And it does, if you don't know what that gas is or what it's doing, it would explain that phenomenon to somebody in a mine hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, I have a cousin who believed in the blue people that lived in the center of the earth.
It's cute.
He's a big conspiracy theorist guy.
It's not a little kid. Okay. It's fun too. So I live in Colorado, and it's loosely based on, so issue 6 is loosely based on a town in Colorado called Villa Grove. And just in the mountains near Villa Grove is a place called Creststone.
Okay.
And that is a place, I have friends who live there, and it's like, fine if you're a local, but that is like a place people go missing. Like they join the commune and disappear. So like all the weird happenings are very much like that, Villa Grove to Creststone.
Okay, so
you go there, it feels unnatural, or I don't know, it feels weird.
So that story's kind of inspired by that town, that little part. That was great. Like when I read, like, because Johnny backed, because you had a Kickstarter just recently for Wheat Paste Volume 1, and so Johnny was like, "Oh man, check this out," and I was like, "All right." So anyway, I read because it's quite. I think you have it on your website as well. If you go to pidgecomics.com, you can order the
it's a
second edition. Yeah,
it's pretty thick.
It's a thick book, and
9 issues, but like they're all kind of oversized issues. They're not typical 22 pages, are they?
24. I hand bound and stapled and trimmed and did everything, paginated everything on the originals that were in black and white. So you need to have it based off of 4s anyway, because you're folding 11 by 17 paper that you print. So everything's based off of 4. So they're either 24 page minimum or 28.
Oh, I mean, it's almost 300 pages, 284, I believe.
280.
280, yeah. So it's magnificent tome, you know what I mean? Plus, you have about another book that size worth of content of the series to have a second book in the not too distant future, right?
Yeah, we don't have a date yet for that. I am drawing the last issue for volume 2 right now, and I'll be rolling in straight into color. So I'm skipping black and white, I think, for the new issues. I drew 2 that weren't done yet that'll be in volume 2. And it does have an Ignatz nominated issue. I guess people can go in with questions. That's cool. That would be issue 7, which this is the first place it's in color and not black and white. So what I do like about how we collected it, the wraparound covers,
yes. 7.
that's that issue. And the wraparound covers are included as sort of chapter breaks.
Yeah.
And it was just one of my favorite parts of the whole.
The collected edition.
Oh,
Yeah.
that Otis issue too is so beautiful.
I love that. That's what I was getting at when I read it, because it's a great read. You read it all in one shot, like as a volume, and you get little glimpses, like little hints of, like at one point in the early on, you get, I don't remember which issue, you get that little robotic guy asking if you have WD-60. You get these little hints of is this, what kind of book is it weird? What kind of world is it? And you get a bit of that like surrealness to it with what's the Jeff, I believe is his name.
Yeah, the god, or
the demigod. You get it when he has his transformation. You're like, okay, this is a little wild, like. And then like kind of halfway through, I don't remember if it's issue 4 or 5.
The group issues is where it really kind of
that's where you really lean into the weird. And I was like, okay, I'm into this. Once I got to that issue, I was like, all right, I'm hooked. Now I'm sold. And from there on, then you had the Otis story. You had the Cobalt story with the blue creatures. I mean, you just really leaned into it, and I loved it. I even loved like the little. Then you got back to like more slice of life with the
Addie and Lila.
Addie, yeah, where she's doing her first time going out asking questions in the field about the skate park, and you got back and now you're starting to see like this world develop and the relationships all these characters have with each other and the world that they live in, and it was great. After that, I was like, so I read it, I was like, okay, this is slice of life, but then you had little hints of what the potential of the world and everything. And then once you get to that issue 4 or 5, you really start let your hair down, as you would say, to really just no rules now. Let's just go for it. And it was great. It was fun. I really enjoyed that second half, really hooked me, and a great read. Yeah.
Well, anybody, I would talk to other cartoonists, and I would talk to other comic reader friends, and everybody really was discouraging about doing single issue format.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love them. I love the tactile feel of a single issue. Mm-hmm. And I love I'm not hard and fast about rules. They're definitely 2-parters, but each 2-parter is a contained issue. Mm-hmm. So each one, you could read each chapter separately and go through and have a nice experience with it. But I just think that having that more bite-sized story within the story, everything connects. Is a better way to do a single issue format with an audience. And I think it actually works really well as a collection.
Yeah.
I enjoy the rotating cast. It's not seen too often in American comics, but it's kind of not kind of typical in manga. You know what I mean? Like having I know a couple of creators, like one of my favorites, Q Hasida, who does Dorohedoro. Like she has a really big revolving cast. Kind of reminds me a bit of your style, because like you'll have a couple issues about these guys over here, and then she write about these ones over there. And I dig that. You know what I mean? It kind of keeps it fresh, and like it kind of helps shift up the genres like you do so well in the book. So like I am utterly enthralled. Actually, I got to shout out the homeboy here that keeps blowing up the chat. Sequential Geek. He's actually who introduced me to your work in one of his videos. He spoke about you, and I was enthralled, and that's what got me to look in. And I saw your Kickstarter was running, so I backed it, and yeah, I'm hooked. I cannot wait for to see where this goes. I'm really digging the
And I'm
the
sorry, the question just Sequential Geek. I don't think I know who that creator is, but with as many comics I have around here, I might have read them and forgot.
Seth Fisher. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not sure I know him. So,
but yeah, my other half did a beautiful job on the color. I think on the digital format it doesn't really do it justice, but they're really designed to kind of illuminate the other side.
yeah, this is what I was telling Joe. And on the printed, it looks so much better, right? In the PDF, the colors are just so garish almost. They're really at you
up on there. I was wondering if you'd gotten a physical copy because I saw that and I kind of laughed because, you know, if I like it, that's all that matters to me. But they're really designed to reflect off of each other.
Okay.
And each issue has a different sort of color theme. And like, I love the breaks. They were really designed to physically reflect on each other. And we built handmade books just to see how
the print would come out,
spine would be, how the spine would come out, or and how the colors would be, but we knew we wouldn't get it as rich. The other thing I love that you kind of have to give up like parts of steps to the publisher. Like I don't get to have as much control as I would like. They did the black last, I think, because you can tell it's laid on there really nicely. So I was really pleased when we got it back, what they did with it.
Okay.
Yeah, on the PDF, it's just really, really bright, but it's so when you do print 4 color, it comes out so rich. I love it.
Yeah. We had a little discussion with another creator about the, because CMYK and you're working in RGB if you're working on a computer, and there's a lot of variation from the screen to print. So there's it's not at all the same medium. So it's for sure that the look is a lot different.
Yeah, I get a lot of questions from younger people, especially college age people, because my spouse is a professor, about getting into comics, and I'll go in and like talk to their classes if I have a day off and they're in, and really just knowing more about book production and really any steps that you can do yourself before it ever goes to anybody else, the better.
Yeah. So the single issues, were they all black and white?
Yeah.
All of them? Okay. Right up till the more recent ones as well?
Yep. Up to 16. And, the other thing that's kind of fun about the rotating cast, when I do release, I took a break during COVID to work on another project. And part of that was I knew I wasn't going to get to go anywhere and actually sell the book or talk to people about, I knew I was going to be a lot of issues ahead. And when you show up with 20 issues at a show, people are a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I'll like kind of pick out the ones that I think are really good, like single reads and will fit in my bag. But, I stepped back from that to do another comic, and I aged everybody in real time. So when you have the rotating cast, I have 4 issues a year, and it's spring, summer, fall, winter. Spring, summer, fall, winter. So each one is in its actual season. And you'll notice with Abe, he ages absolutely.
Yeah.
Even the missing years, I won't screw it up. He's my nephew's age. He's going to be what he is. So.
That's cool.
Yeah, Abe and Cashmere are great characters too. I really love their issues as well. Like, at one of my favorite conventions that you do, I wish more people would do this. I love that you have these kind of emotional panels, or not panels, but word bubbles, where you can just kind of draw the character how they're feeling instead of like really needing to say anything. I think that's just so calming and kind of new. I don't think I've seen anybody else do that. So like, I gotta say that like I really, really enjoyed that part of your book, because I don't know, it's just like little cool hints like that really show There's still, sparks popping off in the cartoonist minds, out there.
Or where the car breaks down, the smoke forms the skull.
Yeah, the skull.
Just little things like that are just make the book so much more quaint, and it just makes it fun and makes you just love a book when you have little touches like that throughout.
Well, thanks. I don't know. Some of those are like my isms, but manga, like, they know what they're doing with some of that kind of slower pacing, those emotional inserts. So I definitely, I'll look at Rumiko Takahashi and be like, oh, I gotta do another Rumiko. I'll drop my characters and do almost like a redraw of something of hers in there, just because it's so stunning and different. So I can't take full credit.
So, and your character designs are awesome. Like Joe was saying, you get like just the little hints of your sci-fi world, like this little mushroom dude, and they're just so neat when they do pop up. Like how long did it take you kind of to design like this world that you kind of came up with? Just wondering, have you been coming up with it since you were a kid, or because I know that you grew up comics? Like, I love your actual intro to the book about you and your brother. That melted my heart. That right then when I'm like, dude, this book is gonna be so good, isn't it? Like,
thanks. So. Yeah. Comics are really important to me, and like they were so scarily important. I ran away from them for a long time because I felt like if I open my heart to comics, and Jack Kirby comics will break your heart. They could break your heart, but they can only break your heart because you loved them in the first place. And I think just figuring out a way to be financially stable and not have to depend on comics, then it's like, I'm just going to make whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about breaking my heart trying to figure out what some audience wants. I just make it. And over at Avery Hill, when we were first talking to each other, they're like, well, what are you going to do if this doesn't become gets collected or whatever? I'm just going to draw it. So whatever, if you want to do something with it, do something. And they were a really exciting team. So it was good. I think there was another question in there about what was.
How long it took you to kind of develop your world?
No time.
No time. You just kind of came up with it?
Honestly, yeah. I have a few drawings in my sketchbook, but it's just doing. I follow the characters, and the background is more expressionist, I guess. Like, I'm going to put these guys here and these guys here, and I definitely have an endpoint for the first 3 volumes that will happen. But that was more of a philosophical point. So anything else thrown in there, I think it's just the Will Elder school of chicken fat. Like, I just want to throw it in.
So it's like really organic then. You have an idea, and each issue just, like you say, you know where you want it to end, and then from there it just develops. So like, do you redraw a lot of stuff? Sometimes you're like, oh, like as you're going, you're like, this idea would be cool, so let's do that, or
No, I think I just read a lot and listen to a lot of podcasts, and I really like stuff about microbes, and I'll just turn microbes into macrobes, I guess, or whatever it is whatever that scientific thing is that's catching my mind recently will just end up in there. And I think they're universal stories, so it really doesn't matter where I set it. There isn't really a big difference between a starship and a cruise liner. So why do you need to world build? I think I just saw so many people in art school try to get every single thing in place for world building, and then they froze for years and never did their project. And I was like, I don't want to do that to myself. I'm going to find characters I like, and I'm going to move on.
And that brings me to my next question. Your characters, they're so real, so lived in. Are some of them based on friends, real people? Because some of them kind of really come off as like there's a lot of situations in the book that seem like real lived stuff. That's what I'm asking. Like, so are some of them based on you, or are they based on friends?
Yes and no. Yeah, definitely. I think the ones who connect most to me, I might be a little bit of a robot. I really connect to Otis if I was like my
Otis is
coolest
great.
self. And I think him needing to rely on routines and not really discuss his feelings as much, but kind of, but reaching out and connecting to other people when he needs them. I think that's very me. And Addie, I feel really connected to. Like, I like that she isn't exceptional.
Yeah.
She's just,
Yeah, no, I'm just Addie was I enjoyed Addie's character as well, especially from that first one where you was it the first or second? I think it's right.
First issue, yeah.
Where they're moving, right? They're talking about moving. So you get them kissing. Okay, I'll meet you there. And then what is it? Issue 8?
yeah.
Later on, when you see where they've reached their destination and stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember from the first issue. That's so there's a connecting line and stuff, and then you really get to see two sides of Addie, right? Like the side where she wants to help Jeff and take care of him, and kind of the characters warning her, you've been through this again, like maybe it's a lost cause, maybe you should just let it go, but she can't, right? It's stronger than her, she has to help. And then then you see another side of her character in her personal life with her girlfriend and stuff, and how they live, and I love that part too, about the haunted house and all that stuff. I laughed. It made me laugh so much. So
thank you. Yeah, I think pulling Addie into, like, I pull some of my personal conversations into her because I like having a character that will try and follow through and very likely not succeed. But the attempt was worth something. The attempt was worth knowing you did what you could. And I think that's one of my better qualities. And Lila is definitely based on a friend of mine. And Groob, he doesn't seem like he's based on anyone, maybe because he's so fantastical. But I have a friend who is insane. So yeah.
They all feel genuine, right? Like it's not superficial, not like Johnny said, they all feel like they're based on real people, right? So I think that's what's great about this story. As you go with each character and each story, you're more invested with each little story you have. And like you said, like Johnny said, it's rotating, but you still get a lot from each character, and you become fully invested in the characters and their story. So you do a fantastic job with that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think if we can recognize what's exceptional in our friends and the people we interact with, I think writing an authentic story is easy to do. It doesn't have to be very direct. I think if you can just find other voices in your experiences and in people that's something. And I'm sorry I missed the question in the chat there because I was all wrapped up in here.
I think he was just saying how impressed he is, like we are, at your your ability to just kind of come up with this. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot to this. You know what I mean? Like you said, I the way that your world's put together, I figured you would have been one of them art school kids that like had all these characters in place before you put pen to paper. But like that's gangster, that you're just kind of like, oh no, I'm gonna tell this story, and like if I want to put a robot in there, that's happening, like that.
Yeah. I definitely did some redraws on some stuff for the collection because there were pages that I didn't feel like had clarity yet. And a lot of that was just, this comic is how I learned to make comics. Or how to really make comics. And so there's some level jumps and some changes throughout. And I do let the style kind of drift depending on the feel of the story. The horror ones have a little bit more kind of an eerie feel and line quality. but there were only a few panels and pages that I really messed with last year redoing this. But, you know, I still sit down pen to paper and write. I still keep a notebook of ideas and stories, but I don't make hard and fast rules. I think what I made, you know, that wheat paste can really hold anything in it. And I don't feel a need to make any other series right now because I haven't found anything that wouldn't fit in wheat paste.
Yeah, it's very versatile. Like you could almost tell any story you wanted within this universe. That's what makes it so much fun, you know. And that's where I think that's why it's a slow burn kind of getting you into it, because like I said, you drop these little stories and they touch on so many different things and expand on like the different worlds. Like at first you're like, oh, but then you get to what's his name, Groob,
Yeah.
and he's in space. You're like, wait a second, you know. And then you have like at the end with Kashmir where he's like, I gotta go back to Earth. Can I hitch a ride? And then like, so you're like, it's a huge, not even just world, but universe, right? So yeah, so it's like, like it's infinite possibilities. Not,
and then when Kashmir's around, it's an action film, and then so like I like that there's different scenarios that pop up with different characters too. That's pretty. Also helps build the versatility, because like maybe some of these other ones will interact with each other, and then you'll kind of cross-reference the genres.
Yeah, it gets funny. Some of the characters I get a little nervous about what I'm going to write with them though, because you know, I wrote Lila's car breaking down, and while I was drawing the pages while her car breaking down, my friend was coming to see me and said that she needed a tow, and sometimes it gets a little stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I just drew that, and she goes, well, fucking undo it. Like, it's 8 pages from now. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to call a tow. So
that's good.
There might be some magic in there.
Yeah. Well, that's the other cool thing. I love that, like, you're mixing technology, magic, all of it. You're not trying to like, oh no, this is. And another thing is, you don't really explain. You don't go out of your way to just explain. It's like, oh, she's got crows that come out of her arms. Then they help her find stuff, and fly her too, right? So,
yeah.
And I like that you don't try to like. You don't do origin stories for these people. You just kind of like introduce us to them doing their stuff, and like we learn like what they can do while they're doing their job. And I like that. I like the reassurance that you don't think that we needed to be our hands held. You know what I mean? That's awesome.
Good. I'm glad. I don't like stories that give you a whole bunch of exposition. I'm very sparing with ever doing narration. Even, capital I think this one, 280 pages. Yeah. Only one of them has the bars, or only two have the bars over the I. So there's some really economical things that are very conscious decisions. And I guess you can change your mind. I just don't like flashbacks with a lot of explanation. I like something direct, because if people are going to tell each other about it, they're going to tell each other, and that's how you find out. If they're not, they're always holding that piece back.
Yeah.
Well, I like it because you're building up like Jeff. I'm pretty sure he's going to come back. It's going to be a big thing. But since we don't know really about Jeff's past, aside from maybe he's burnt other worlds out on accident, like we're not sure what's going to happen if and when the Jeff returns. You know what I mean? And I like that building mystery that I kind of sense in the.
Well, you get a little feel for it, like the animals that are the multicolored, like almost like there's another dimension that's kind of merging, where the people in this world can kind of see where, I don't know if it's from the afterlife, and people are able to reveal, like the veils drop so they can kind of see. And then you see Jeff later on that's kind of in those same colors, right? And like even Lila can't even, like, Addie tells her, this is what I saw, and she's like, well, no, this is just, so there's a lot of that like mysticism and I don't know, like I feel like there's maybe a veil that's gonna drop where her mind, Addie's gonna like become like you said, like you say, oh, there's nothing extraordinary about her. But I think like it's slowly breadcrumbs are being dropped that she's gonna become like this. I don't know, like I think there's more to Addie that we'll see later on because she sees these things that Lila, who is clairvoyant, doesn't see. So there's something there, I think, that maybe like the butterflies, the little cat creature, you know, they all have that same color color scheme to them. So it'll be fun to see. Yeah.
I'll keep all that close to the vest, but
Yeah.
no, I do like that. I don't know. I like the space between relationships.
Hmm.
In a lot of ways, it might be that. I definitely grew up in a rural community where nobody said what they meant. So they'd always talk around what their meaning was, and then you'd get one piece of the puzzle, and then 5 years later, you get another piece of the puzzle, and you'd be like, "Oh, now I think I've guessed what the family secret is, but I can't ask." You know? So
Yeah.
I think I just like the family secrets. Like I like that there's all this stuff that you just get an inclination of what it is.
What?
And I
Yeah.
think that was always fun for me to experience.
Mhm.
So hopefully you feel that too.
Like Lila, she looks just like the way you draw her and like her features looks just like my niece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially later on, like you said, because wheat paste is you started making comics with wheat paste. So I think I personally could see us like the progression in your work from like let's say the
Definitely.
first issue to where you're at now in the collected edition, and like I just I love that, and Johnny and I have spoken on that before, where we love to see the progression of a creator like throughout their work and seeing that progression and it develop and grow. So and I think maybe that's why it like I enjoyed it by the lot more by the end because the story grew like and you grew as a creator and I appreciated that as I read it too. So
Yeah.
I became more invested in not only the book, maybe your story as well subconsciously without even thinking of it. And you know, just I don't know, it's just fun. It becomes a more intimate experience, I find, when you get to see a creator's growth as you're reading it. And it's great. And it's
Thank you.
really
That
really great work by the end. Like fantastic. Like I finished it and right away I sent Johnny a message. I was like, because for the episode we had a lot of books to read, and I was only able to get through half of it because I was like, I sent Johnny. I was like, dude, this fucking book is big, man. It's like 280 pages. So I read like the first 100, I think, and then we knew Johnny invited you on the show, so I was like, I got to get on that and finish it, you know. And then he's like, yeah, I think you'll really enjoy it because the second half is really like kind of I like weird kind of stuff like that. And when I finished it, I sent a message right away. I was like, man, you're so right. The second half of this book just I ate it up. I loved it. It was so fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
it's all about those connections, relationships, and you know, I think it takes great care to say that people are important.
Hmm.
And I think if you have a core value of your comic that no one's insignificant, that hopefully you communicate that to the audience too. Like you, the reader, are significant. So I think there's a reaching out there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely connected. I mean, like Johnny was saying, like even like we were saying earlier, like each character feels like someone, even though they're not based on someone. It feels like a real person that you're reading about. So it makes it so much easier to connect with these characters when it's written that way.
The dude John in issues 2 and 3, I know that guy. All right, I know dudes that act just as dumb as that guy does, man. Like,
Unfortunately, I know a John too.
You made it into the book.
But, yeah, I got my revenge. Oh god. But you know what? I don't want to give too much to that kind of character, but he's in, what is it, 17? Just true. He's in 17. And he's grown, like he has grown as a person a little bit. And I think he can recognize where he screwed up too. So it's not that there's an unaccountability and there are no excuses made, but that person still exists after they completely ruin a relationship and cause, you know, something terrible to happen, a chain of events. And he's in 16 too, actually.
Okay.
Cool.
And that if I were going to do a single issue outside of this, I think it, you know, not to, I'll plug it. I think my favorite single issue outside of these 9 is 16.
16.
It's emotional. I think it's one of my better drawn ones, and the conversation between So and John is like not to be missed.
And I think you just finished that one, right? When I went on your website, I think you just released that one.
Yeah, it's still in black and white, so that'll be in the volume 2 collection. And I just finished drawing 17, and I'm halfway through 18 right now. So just keep moving.
And you're going to do the same idea, do a Kickstarter to do the collected edition for the volume 2?
I don't make those decisions. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Avery Hill did the Kickstarter, right? Like the actual publisher, right? Did it? Avery Hill, I believe.
Yeah, I kind of hope they do, because I really like designing things.
Okay.
And so it was really fun to just have an excuse to sit down and design stuff for it. And I really like the rewards in it. So that would be fun to do again if we get there. So
cool. Yeah, and the Kickstarters are shipping. I get my book on Saturday. I got an email yesterday telling me that it's in the mail. So I got that to look forward to, and going to do another reread just to see it how gorgeous it looks in print, because I always tell people, I'm like, they always kind of shake their head at me like I'm crazy, but books always look better in print, you know, like.
Well, yeah, it's in glorious 4-color. I absolutely love it. I think the PDF is a little too bright for me, and I like it on a shelf. I like it in my hands. So if I want a comic, I will find a beat up library edition if I can't. You know, the one they're getting rid of from the shelf. Yeah. I will get that before I will ever read it on a tablet. Just won't happen.
Straight up. I mean, a lot of manga, I get that way, because you can get it for like cents off of Amazon, and like, yeah, they got all stickered up covers, but like whatever, the book's still readable. It's still perfectly fine.
Yeah, which one was it I got from the library, Johnny? Bambi and her pink gun.
Yeah,
I think that was I think I got that one. It was just a library book, and that's hard to find, so I didn't mind, like, whatever. Even if it's in a bit of rough shape. I mean, I like reading comics for reading them, so even if the book's in rough shape, that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
So I actually read my comics. I don't just throw them in a bag and never crack them open or look at them. You know, I'm more of a reader than a collector, so yeah.
I think one of my favorite, sickest pleasures in life is to break a CGC slab.
We did it on air.
Do I still have it kicking around here?
Yeah, Joe
made it.
Yeah, Joe got a Ghostwriter, and we broke it open on air.
Oh shit! Do I have to slap
nice.
around here?
I really enjoyed
right here.
getting scot-free out of jail. I got Miracle Man #1 and cracked that. Broke him out. Nice.
Yeah,
that is a blight.
Ghostwriter #1.
Yeah, we don't believe in putting comics in coffins either.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started off as self-published, and I had the great fortune to work with Shelley Bond, who edited about 2/3 of The Sandman. And I just kind of connected to her on through a project called Insider Art, which was just, you can donate your work to the proceeds were going to women and non-binary and queer comic store owners. I believe that fits all the categories that were there. anyway, it was a really fun project to do, and she got in touch with me, and I worked more and more with her. And so Avery Hill found out what I was doing because, I have like weird connections, like the late great Tom Spurgeon. He'd be like, "Oh, those colors!" Like, I knew Tom, and like Jeff Smith bought the first I collected the first 6 issues hand bound.
Okay.
Literally glued them, wrapped them myself. And Jeff Smith actually ended up, he didn't know, he bought the first one from my table, which I thought was pretty cool. He was like, "Nice colors." I was like, "Oh, thank you." I was like, "Damn it, I don't do those." So, but so it's like a weird kind of, other cartoonists knew about wheat paste, but it seemed like almost no one did.
Was
So I got a lucky break.
was Chase there with you when he picked up the book? He
No,
was sitting beside you wearing the bag on his head.
I got a cute one. So they had me do the posters for that show.
Yeah.
And I have the squid head,
Yeah.
and Chase has the bag head because of Charlie Brown. He didn't want his face. He's like, "Oh, it's your thing." So I said, "If I put you in the paper bag," he goes like, "Bag head?" He just it perks him right up.
Yeah.
And so we're on the posters with like, Mignola was at the show. So with Hellboy and like Maggie and Hopi and Phone Bone and all.
Yeah.
And this kid was really into it. This little kid was like, "Oh my God, this poster." And he goes, "Yeah, my wife made that." "No way." He goes, "That's me." He points at Baghead, and the kid was like, "Psh," and walks away. My favorite moment. What a stupid thing to lie about. Kid walks away.
Yeah. I like the squid design too, the squid head thing. That's great. Do you actually have one that you can wear?
I could make one, but it was an interesting decision to put my brother in the squid head because it's always been just me. But I figured it was kind of like Spiegelman with his wife didn't want to be a frog; she wanted to be a mouse too. I was like, "Well, he's my brother; he should be a squid." So
it's such a cute design too. Like,
would you knit it if you did make one? Because I noticed that you're big into knitting, or at least you at the back of the book you have a bunch of ways that you can knit. I don't know, like, would you say patterns for the gloves and the hat and a couple of different things that make appearances through the book. So
that's the nice thing about being an art and a theater teacher. You can fabricate just about anything. So I don't think I would do it knitting unless it was just a hat. But yeah, I knit for self-defense up here. I've made 2 cardigans and a sweater this year so far. And I got that sweater off the needles the first week of break done. And it's so cold at night. I'm like, I need my wool sweater to go on a walk. So it's definitely a self-defense mechanism. And I do like those touches. Like there isn't a lot of, I don't have like a book of rules about world building, but I do like those touches of it that are real. Like every knitting pattern is an item of clothing that I own, that I made and designed. And this balaclava looks absolutely insane when you wear it rolling up to work, but I am so happy when I wear it. So not cold at all.
Okay, so you kind of make like another tinier hood. That's cool.
Yeah, I definitely look. What's that song? In December, drinking horchata, I look psychotic in my balaclava. So it's like running through my head when I put that one on.
Earlier, you talked about because during COVID, you knew you wouldn't be out promoting the book and stuff. So speaking about promoting the book, we're right in the thick of convention season. Do you have any appearances coming up that you wanted to plug? Maybe let people know they could go pick up a copy. go see you, chat you up, and
Yeah. So I am going to, I probably won't get these in the right order. SPX, I'm going back. That was a really cool experience. And going to CXC, which if you're going to make a trip to go to a convention, like if you're going to get on a plane for anyone and you love indie comics, Cartoon Crossroads in Columbus, Ohio is my absolute favorite.
Okay.
And go, if you can, to the days before the show. The academic side of that conference, I mean, if you're a comics nerd, like you're in heaven. And you get to see like original Calvin and Hobbes pages, original Peanuts. Like it's, if you go to the museum, it is absolutely insane. So it's worth going just for you. I got rejected a couple of years there, and I just went anyway because it's incredible. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm a special guest there, which is exciting.
Cool.
Ooh.
And there's some fancy people on that list, so I felt very flattered. But they're going to have Nate Powell and like Art Spiegelman and a lot of like really big names.
Damn.
And then I'm going to Slice, which is smaller, but I'm originally from the St. Louis area.
Okay.
So I'm going to be a special guest there too, kind of coming back to my home turf. I went K through 8 in St. Louis proper, and then high school in Illinois, part of it. So it'll definitely feel kind of strange being back because it's been about 6 years. I'm looking forward to it.
That's not so bad. 6 years. It's not bad.
Well, St. Louis isn't like my favorite place. Fall is fine.
Yeah.
It gets cold.
It gets so cold. It gets so hot.
Missouri is a cold place in winter, dog. Like, but you're in Canada. You're used to it.
Yeah, I know. We get the extreme hot in Quebec in the summer and the extreme cold in the winter. So, we get to taste it all.
There you go.
So you just like it cold, huh? Or go from one cold extreme place to another. That's pretty crazy. But then again, man, like I wouldn't promote going to any of the hot states either. I went to Florida for a couple of years and was working out there, and it's horrible. Like the heat. I'll take the cold any day.
But I went a few years ago to Slice when it had its old name, which I forget, and that was really fun. They were in the cutest like library, and this time I got to look at some images, and I think it's more of like a gallery space, but it's really pretty too. They just have gorgeous old buildings in St. Louis if you can handle the heat. But that's in September or October, so you
won't be as bad.
No, it's not bad. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we kind of went over your time limit you asked for, but sorry about that.
You got me out of fence building, which is
well, that was the bell, I think, for saying time's up.
Yeah, they're calling me back to work, so I'm sorry. Thank you so much. And yeah.
Hey, it was a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. It was great talking to you, and good luck on the rest of the book, and looking forward to volume 2.
Thanks. Well, read more comics, guys. And thank you, everybody who wrote in questions. That was really cool. Like, so participatory. I like that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll follow Pidge at Pidge Comics on Instagram. She's a great follow. A lot of background background looks at her art. So yeah, definitely check that out.
PidgeComics.com as well. If you want to pick up, if you missed the Kickstarter, you want to buy the collected edition, you can find it there. Or if you want the single issues, all the single issues are available on PidgeComics.com as well.
Yeah, we will be back tomorrow evening or maybe Thursday. I'm not sure. We're doing our Pride celebration. But we'll keep you posted on when that'll exactly be. But until then, take it easy, everybody.
Thanks.